It's been over 5 decades since Love Thy Neighbour sparked laughs and controversy with its bold take on comedy. The sitcom's characters left a lasting mark on television history, but what happened to the actors behind the scenes? In 2025, their stories continue to intrigue. From remarkable careers and personal achievements to the inevitable passage of time, we take a look at where the beloved cast is now. Join us as we explore their journeys and uncover how life has changed for the stars of this unforgettable show. Jack Smethurst, who portrayed the outspoken and bigoted Eddie Booth in Love Thy Neighbour starting in 1972, was 40 years old when he began the role. Eddie's frequent clashes with his neighbors, filled with both comedy and social commentary, became iconic. However, Jack's personal life was far more tragic. His first marriage ended in divorce after years of emotional strain, and despite a second attempt at love, his second marriage too faltered under the weight of professional pressures and personal insecurities. Jack's relationships with his children were often strained, as his dedication to his career left little room for family life. As he aged, Jack battled health problems, including heart issues, which added to his emotional burden. He passed away on February 16, 2022, at 89 from natural causes. Though celebrated for his comedic talent, Jack's life was marked by loss and regret, as he faced personal heartbreaks that could not be healed by his success on screen. Patrick Westwood, who played the dustman in Love Thy Neighbour in 1974, was 50 years old when he joined the cast. His character, though minor, added humor and everyday realism to the show, becoming a memorable part of its comedic landscape. Despite his time on the series, Patrick's career never truly took off, and he spent much of his life in smaller, less recognized roles. His personal life was marked by struggle. He married in the 1960s, but the relationship soon soured, with emotional distance and unmet expectations leading to a painful divorce. Patrick had 2 children, but his family life was strained, with his children becoming increasingly distant as he grew older. His later years were marked by loneliness, as he struggled with personal demons and the unfulfilled hopes of his youth. Patrick passed away on April 21, 2017, at the age of 92, after years of solitude and quiet reflection on a life filled with missed opportunities. Harry Littlewood, who played the foreman in Love Thy Neighbour, was 51 years old when he began the role in 1972. The foreman, a stern authority figure caught in workplace conflicts, was far different from Harry's personal life, which was riddled with personal tragedies. His first marriage ended in divorce, and the emotional toll left him with a strained relationship with his children. As Harry focused on his career, the distance between him and his family grew wider, and his second marriage also ended in sadness. His life after the show was marked by loneliness and an overwhelming sense of missed connections. Despite his success in the industry, Harry found himself unable to escape the emotional isolation that weighed on him. He passed away on December 26, 2003, at the age of 82. His death marked the end of a life filled with unresolved pain and the quiet sadness of a man whose professional success never fully healed the wounds of his troubled personal life. George Roderick, who portrayed the removal man in Love Thy Neighbour, 1972, was 59 when he took on the role. His character was a minor yet memorable figure, known for his humorous interactions that helped provide a lighter touch in the show. While his career began in the 1950s with various supporting roles, he never found the success he hoped for. His personal life, unfortunately, mirrored the lack of fulfillment he felt in his career. His first marriage ended in a painful divorce after years of emotional distance, and his second marriage too was plagued by alcoholism, causing strain in their relationship. Despite having 2 children, Daniel and Christine, the family grew apart as George's behavior grew increasingly erratic. His life turned tragic when he was diagnosed with a terminal illness, and he spent his final months isolated. He died on March 10, 1976, at the age of 62, a victim of both his illness and years of substance abuse. Tim Barrett, who played Detective Sergeant Finch in Love Thy Neighbour, 1973, was 44 when he joined the cast. His portrayal of a serious police officer caught in absurd situations was a highlight of the show, but Barrett's career was marred by typecasting and missed opportunities. Behind the scenes, his personal life was equally tumultuous. His first marriage to actress Margaret ended in a bitter divorce, and his second marriage to Emily, a theater producer, was strained by Barrett's battle with depression and alcoholism. The death of Emily in a car accident in 1983 shattered him, and the pain only deepened as his relationship with his son, Jonathan, deteriorated due to Barrett's emotional withdrawal. Jonathan, struggling with his own addiction, became estranged from his father, further isolating Tim in his grief. Tim's life came to a tragic end when he died from an overdose on August 20, 1990, at 61. Dick Bentley, who played the White Vicar in Love Thy Neighbour, 1973, was 66 when he started portraying the well-meaning but often oblivious character. While the role brought him some fame, Bentley's career was never smooth. He had struggled for years, facing rejection in his early years, and only found success later in life. His personal life was filled with tragic events, including a marriage to Claire that ended after his infidelity and her growing mental health struggles. The couple had 3 children, but the family fractured as Claire descended into depression. The greatest heartbreak came when Claire tragically took her own life in 1987, leaving Bentley devastated. He never truly recovered from the loss, and his children, particularly his daughter, struggled with their own issues. Bentley passed away on August 27, 1995, at the age of 88, from heart failure. Terence Alexander, who played Mr. Wilson in Love Thy Neighbour in 1972, was 49 when he began the role. Mr. Wilson was a figure of dignity and authority, often bringing a sense of order to the show's chaotic dynamics. Off-screen, however, Terence's life was fraught with personal struggles. His marriage, though long-lasting, was marred by the couple's inability to have children, a painful reality that strained their relationship. The couple's attempts to adopt were unsuccessful, further deepening the emotional distance between them. Despite a steady career, Terence faced a growing sense of failure in his personal life. His marriage eventually ended in divorce in the early 1980s, marking the beginning of his emotional decline. As his health deteriorated in his later years, Terence found solace only in his work, but his life was increasingly overshadowed by feelings of regret and sorrow. Terence passed away on May 28, 2009, at 86, from Parkinson's disease. Norman Bird, who played Mr. Granger in Love Thy Neighbour, 1972, was 48 years old when he began portraying the practical, down-to-earth character, known for his voice of reason amidst the comedic chaos. While his on-screen persona was steady and reliable, Bird's personal life was far from peaceful. He married early in life, but the pressures of his career, coupled with emotional strain, caused his marriage to fall apart. The divorce left him heartbroken, and although his acting career continued, it did little to ease the sorrow of his personal life. In his later years, Norman was diagnosed with cancer, and despite his best efforts to remain strong, he passed away on April 22, 2005, at the age of 80. His death marked the end of a long and difficult journey, filled with the unresolved pain of a broken marriage and the weight of personal loss. Edwin Apps, who played the captain in Love Thy Neighbour in 1972, was 41 years old when he portrayed the stern, authoritative figure, often adding structure and order to the show's chaos. While his character remained composed, Edwin's personal life was marked by significant turmoil. His first marriage ended in divorce, and despite remarrying later, his second marriage also dissolved, leading to estrangement from his children. His professional life, although stable, could not compensate for the emotional scars left by his troubled personal relationships. In his later years, Edwin's health declined, and he lived in relative isolation, grappling with loneliness. He passed away on April 16, 2021, at 89, from natural causes, his life a testament to the painful gap between his successful career and emotional isolation, with unhealed wounds from his personal failures lingering until his final days. Frank Williams, who portrayed the well-meaning, somewhat bumbling Mr. Martin in Love Thy Neighbour, 1972, was 41 years old when he began the role, providing much of the show's humor through his endearing awkwardness. However, Williams' off-screen life was marked by personal struggles, particularly his failed marriage. After years of trying to make it work, the relationship ended in divorce, leaving him emotionally scarred. Despite his continued acting work, including roles after Love Thy Neighbour, Williams' personal life remained a source of unhappiness. He faced financial difficulties and emotional struggles, and while his public persona remained positive, privately, he battled with the sense of loss and disappointment. He passed away on June 26, 2022 at the age of 90, leaving behind his once bustling career that was overshadowed by the personal hardships he endured over the years. Fred Emney, who played the man in the bar in Love Thy Neighbour, 1972, was 72 years old when he brought to life the often tipsy, jovial character that provided comic relief. Off-screen, however, Emney's life was anything but carefree. His marriage, once full of promise, ended in a bitter separation, leaving him emotionally devastated. The heartbreak from his failed relationship compounded the struggles in his later years, as he turned to alcohol to cope with his pain. The addiction took a toll on his health, and despite a career that spanned decades, his personal life seemed to unravel. Fred Emney passed away on December 25, 1980, at the age of 80, his death a tragic end to a life filled with personal turmoil. The joy he brought to audiences through his performances was overshadowed by the private sorrow he endured, making his death a poignant reminder of the fragility of life. Bill Maynard, who portrayed the no-nonsense police sergeant in Love Thy Neighbour in 1973, was 45 years old when he first stepped into the role that would become a memorable part of his career. The police sergeant brought a sense of law and order to the chaotic world of the show, but Bill's personal life was far from orderly. His 2 marriages ended in painful divorces, and he became estranged from his children. The personal sacrifices of his career took a heavy toll on his relationships, and he spent much of his later life in solitude, far from the family he had once hoped to keep together. Bill's health took a downward turn in his later years, and in 2018, a fall led to complications that ultimately resulted in his death on March 30, 2018, at the age of 89. Despite his professional achievements, Bill's personal life was marked by regret, isolation, and the difficult reality of broken relationships. Bill Pertwee, who played the policeman in Love Thy Neighbour in 1972, was 46 when he took on the role. The policeman was a well-meaning yet bumbling character who added much of the comic relief to the show. Pertwee's career, while steady, was often limited by typecasting, and he struggled to break free from comedic roles. His first marriage to Marjorie, a fellow actress, ended in divorce, partly due to the emotional strain of their professional rivalry and his mounting pressures from fame. His second marriage to Barbara was marred by her health struggles, which placed a further strain on their relationship. Although Pertwee's career was long and steady, his personal life was filled with difficulties, including financial challenges in his later years. He passed away on May 27, 2013, at 86, from natural causes, leaving behind a life filled with both comedic successes and deep personal regrets. Frank Thornton, who played the barman in Love Thy Neighbour in 1972, was 51 years old when he took on the role of the jovial, welcoming character who provided much of the comic relief on the show. Off-screen, however, Frank's life was filled with emotional struggles. Both of his marriages ended in divorce, and he faced difficult relationships with his children, leaving him distanced from the family life he had once hoped to have. As he grew older, Frank dealt with both declining health and emotional loneliness, finding solace in few personal connections. Despite his success in acting, he found himself battling a sense of isolation in his later years. Frank passed away on March 16, 2013, at the age of 92, after a long and successful career overshadowed by personal loss and emotional solitude. His passing marked the end of a life that, despite its professional triumphs, was burdened by the personal tragedies that he never fully overcame. David Lodge, who portrayed Mr. Baxter in Love Thy Neighbour in 1972, was 51 years old when he began his role. Mr. Baxter was a pragmatic and down-to-earth character, providing a sense of reason amidst the chaos of the show. Though he gained recognition for this role, his career was mostly comprised of minor supporting parts that never quite allowed him to shine. His personal life was deeply troubled, starting with his first marriage to Mary, which ended in divorce after years of emotional strain and her ongoing battle with depression. Despite having 2 children, James and Emma, the separation strained his relationship with them. His second marriage, to Elizabeth, quickly fell apart as well, due to his increasingly isolated and work-focused life. His struggles with alcoholism were well documented, and it overshadowed his achievements. David Lodge passed away on October 18, 2003, at 82, having spent his final years in isolation, with fractured family connections and a deep sense of regret over the personal cost of his career. Damaris Hayman, who portrayed Sister Rachel in Love Thy Neighbour in 1972, was 43 when she began the role. Sister Rachel was a warm and eccentric character, bringing a sense of whimsy and kindness to the series. Despite her success in the role, Hayman faced immense personal challenges. Her marriage to actor Henry ended in divorce due to his infidelity and gambling problems, leaving her emotionally drained. Raising her 2 children, Oliver and Lucy, alone was a constant struggle. The tragic loss of her son Oliver in a car accident at just 21 years old left a permanent scar on her. Despite these hardships, Hayman continued to act, though her later years were marked by isolation and financial instability. She passed away on June 3, 2021, at 91, having weathered years of grief and personal loss, leaving behind a legacy of resilience despite the tremendous pain she endured. Jenny Lee Wright, who portrayed Marilyn in Love Thy Neighbour in 1975, was 28 when she took on the role. Marilyn was a vibrant and charming character, but Jenny's own life was far more complicated. After her role in Love Thy Neighbour, her career hit a rough patch, and she found it difficult to land substantial roles. Her personal life was equally turbulent, marked by a painful divorce from her actor husband. The breakup took an emotional toll, and Jenny became estranged from her daughter, Emily, as the strain of the divorce took hold. As Jenny faced loneliness and depression, her career never fully recovered. In her later years, she withdrew from the public eye and has lived a quiet life since. Now 77 years old in 2025, Jenny's life has been a mixture of missed opportunities and personal struggles, leaving her to reflect on a career and personal life that never lived up to her early promise. Jair Buasi, who portrayed the TV repairman in Love Thy Neighbour in 1972, was 31 when he took on the role. His character, although a minor one, added humor and a touch of realism to the show. However, Jair Buasi's career struggled to take off after Love Thy Neighbour, with only small, unmemorable roles. His personal life was riddled with sorrow. Jair Buasi married in the 1960s, but his relationship deteriorated due to financial troubles and his inability to secure stable work. His wife filed for divorce in the 1980s, leaving him emotionally devastated. Despite having 2 children, a son and a daughter, Jair Buasi became increasingly isolated as his family life fractured. The emotional pain contributed to his declining health, and he passed away on August 2, 2000, at the age of 58 due to natural causes. Jair Buasi's life ended with unrealized potential and deep personal loss, marking a tragic end to a life that had once held so much promise. Mollie Sugden, who played Sister Martin in Love Thy Neighbour in 1974, was 52 when she began the role. Sister Martin was a warm, eccentric character, but Mollie's own life was marked by much less happiness. Her marriage, which began in the 1950s, ended in heartbreak when her husband left her for a younger woman. The pain of betrayal and the dissolution of her family caused a deep rift in her relationship with her children. Mollie's professional life continued to thrive, but her personal life never fully recovered from the scars of her failed marriage. In her later years, Mollie struggled with health issues, including heart failure, and her emotional burdens continued to weigh heavily on her. On July 1, 2009, at the age of 86, Mollie passed away due to heart failure, leaving behind a career filled with iconic roles but a personal life full of heartache and unresolved pain. Patrick Newell, who portrayed the stern and authoritative Mr. Pettigrew in Love Thy Neighbour, 1975, was 43 years old when he began the role. The character, with his no-nonsense approach, often added a sense of order and discipline in the midst of the show's comedic chaos. Off-screen, Newell's life was filled with personal challenges that contrasted with his strong-willed character. He married twice, but both relationships ended in painful divorces, leaving him with a sense of personal failure. Despite his career successes, his personal life was marred by isolation and heartbreak. Newell struggled with severe health problems in his later years, and his personal demons weighed heavily on him. On July 22, 1988, at the age of 56, Patrick Newell passed away from a heart attack, a tragic end to a life that had been burdened by unfulfilled dreams and emotional strife. Robert Raglan, who portrayed the practical and calming doctor in Love Thy Neighbour, 1975, was 66 years old when he began playing the reassuring figure in the series. Raglan's portrayal of a kind and caring doctor provided a sense of security to the viewers, but his own life was filled with considerable hardship. Despite his steady career, Raglan struggled with deep personal issues, particularly within his family life. He was married, but the relationship was fraught with conflict, and the eventual separation left him devastated. He had children, but the estrangement from them only deepened his sense of loneliness. In his later years, Raglan's health deteriorated, exacerbated by the emotional toll of his personal struggles. On July 18, 1985, at the age of 76, Robert Raglan passed away from natural causes. His death marked the end of a life that had been filled with unspoken pain, a stark contrast to the calm and reassuring doctor he portrayed on screen. Glyn Houston, who played the wise and compassionate Reverend Llewellyn Owen in Love Thy Neighbour, 1975, was 50 when he first took on the role of the moral compass for the main characters. His character, always offering sound advice and emotional support, stood in stark contrast to Houston's own tumultuous personal life. Houston, despite his on-screen persona as a caring and calm figure, faced a painful and lonely existence off-camera. His marriage was fraught with issues, eventually ending in divorce. Though he had children, the strained family relationships left him emotionally isolated, casting a shadow over his personal happiness. In his later years, Houston faced health problems and financial difficulties, making his twilight years a difficult and lonely chapter. He passed away on June 30, 2019, at the age of 93 due to natural causes, after living with the weight of his past struggles, leaving behind a legacy of compassion that he rarely experienced in his own life. James Cossins, who played George Britton in Love Thy Neighbour, 1976, was 43 years old when he began portraying the stern and pompous character. Though George brought humor and order to the show, Cossins' personal life was filled with personal struggle. His marriage ended in divorce, and he never seemed to find happiness in his romantic relationships afterward. Professionally, Cossins' career hit a rough patch as he faced typecasting, struggling to find roles that showcased his talents beyond his Love Thy Neighbour portrayal. He battled with depression and a sense of unfulfilled potential, which compounded his health problems. On February 12, 1997, at the age of 63, James Cossins passed away due to heart disease, a tragic end to a life that was defined by both creative success and personal adversity. His death marked the end of a career that had so much more promise than it was able to fulfill. Michael Cochrane, who played Bernard in Love Thy Neighbour, 1975, was 28 years old when he started embodying the charming, often bumbling character. Cochrane's career was initially marked by the promising rise of a versatile actor with much to offer, yet his personal life contrasted sharply with the comedy he brought to the screen. Married at a young age, Cochrane's first marriage ended in divorce, and his second marriage, while lasting longer, never truly fulfilled him emotionally. Despite a solid career on television and stage, he struggled to secure significant roles that would break him free from his typecast image. As the years passed, Cochrane found himself growing disillusioned with the industry's lack of opportunities for older actors, and his personal life was affected by the stress of these professional struggles. Now, at 77, Cochrane remains alive, though his later years have been marked by feelings of quiet regret and a longing for roles that never came. Eric Francis, who portrayed the quirky Specky Nuttall in Love Thy Neighbour, 1974, was 62 when he first brought this endearing character to life. Francis' career was bright in its early stages, but his personal life was filled with turmoil. After multiple failed relationships, including a marriage that ended in divorce, Francis struggled to find peace and happiness in his personal life. Despite the comic roles he often played, his own life seemed like a series of missed opportunities and unfulfilled promises. Professionally, he found himself boxed into similar roles, unable to break free from the persona that had been established on Love Thy Neighbour. Sadly, his personal struggles worsened over time, and on June 7, 1991, at the age of 79, Francis passed away after a tragic accident. His untimely death left a deep void, as he was seen as someone with so much potential, both in his career and in his personal life, which was tragically cut short. Tony Aitken, who portrayed Eddie's mate in Love Thy Neighbour in 1973, was 27 when he took on the role. His character was a humorous contrast to Eddie Booth's more serious persona, adding levity to the show. However, Tony's career never reached the heights he might have hoped for, and after the series ended, he found himself in a string of minor roles. His personal life was equally turbulent. Tony married in the late 1970s, but the relationship quickly deteriorated, driven by the pressures of his career struggles and financial strain. The couple had one son, but their marriage dissolved in the early 1980s. Tony's relationship with his child became strained, and he found himself battling depression and loneliness. Alcohol became his crutch as he struggled with his failures, both professionally and personally. Now 78 years old, Tony lives a quiet life away from the public eye, reflecting on the career that never fully blossomed and the family he lost along the way. Rudolph Walker, who portrayed the calm and rational Bill Reynolds in Love Thy Neighbour starting in 1972, was 33 years old when he began the role. Bill's dignified, level-headed nature stood in stark contrast to Eddie Booth's more aggressive demeanor, offering a sense of stability amidst the chaos. However, Rudolph's own life, particularly his personal relationships, was far more turbulent. His first marriage ended in painful divorce, and he struggled to maintain connections with his children as they grew up. Over the years, Rudolph experienced several other failed relationships, each one marked by emotional disconnects that left him isolated. Despite his career success, his personal life was a constant struggle with loneliness and regret. Now 85, Rudolph is still alive, but his later years have been filled with the quiet sorrow of missed opportunities, the void left by estranged family members, and the weight of unfulfilled dreams. Who's your favorite character from Love Thy Neighbour? How do you feel knowing that some of the actors have passed away? Don't hesitate to leave your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoy this content, please remember to like, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell so you won't miss future videos. Thank you so much.